Hi. I'm actually driving on the Mass Turnpike right now, driving from my home in southern Massachusetts to New York. So, southeastern Massachusetts to New York. So, if you see a lot of videos on my channel with me wearing this same shirt, it's because I'm making some videos while I'm driving. Anyway, it's not like I wear the same shirt all the time. Anyway, I talked about retiring and my situation in another video about how I'm lucky enough, blessed enough to have some pensions that are going to make my retirement hopefully comfortable and maybe easier than some people's. But I was thinking, what about people that don't have a pension, right? What if you haven't worked in a job that offers a pension? Because more and more nowadays that happens. You know, years ago, people would stay at the same company forever, and you'd get a gold watch when you retired for loyalty to the company. But nowadays, people don't stay at the same company forever for several reasons. One, the companies aren't loyal to the people anymore, and the people aren't loyal to the companies. And I don't know if it's one feeds the other, or the other feeds the first one, or it's both. I don't know. People go where the opportunities are, and they figure, I think, that, hey, if this company isn't going to be loyal to me, why should I stay here? And then the company does what's best for them, obviously. But you don't hear of too many people anymore who've been at the same place their whole lives. And I look at people that I know, I don't really know, except where I am, because of my background. I work for the government. I've been there my whole life, and some of the people that I work with, or a lot of them, actually have. But people outside of the government, there's nobody that I know that's done the same thing. Maybe a few, like I know some people that are in the union, they're carpenters and stuff, and they've done that kind of work their whole lives. But even them, they haven't been in the same union, or they didn't join the union right away when they were young. So I don't know a heck of a lot of people who have been in the same company forever, or long enough to get a pension. Although I do know some. So the question is, what about people who don't have a pension? How are they going to retire? And that's a good question. Now, because I'm not in that category, I just have to assume, right? Or due to the studies that I've done, I can't imagine, I can deduct that they either have to have a 401k, an IRA, their own investments, or they got to depend on Social Security. And I don't think Social Security is enough to get by on nowadays. So hopefully people that don't have a pension, if you're an older person, you've thought about this and you have some money put away, either in one of those things we just talked about, or you have some streams of income that you're going to depend on when you get ready to retire. Maybe you have, I don't know, something you've done. Maybe you've written a book and you have residuals coming in. Maybe you've got a side business that you're hoping to do when you retire, or, you know, something coming in, an annuity. Because unless you have something else, I don't think Social Security is going to be enough. Now, if you're already 50, 60 years old, it might be too late to think about that. If you're young, this might be a wake-up call for you, right? What are you going to do? And if you're in a career that doesn't offer a pension, how are you going to retire? Well, wake up. This is a time for you to start putting money into an investment. If your job offers a retirement fund, you need to start putting money into it, especially if they match. You're losing money if you're not putting something into that. You're losing money. And if they don't, you need to start your own, because someday you're going to want to retire. And that money's, where's it going to come from? You won't be able to retire. I tell my son this all the time. You know, I've got a friend, a gentleman works in the gas station right next to our house, and he's a wonderful man, and he was a Marine, and he's going to be in his late 70s, and he walks all hunched over, and he's had heart attacks, he's got medical problems, and he's still working. And I would imagine the reason because he's never saved any money and he's never worked at a job where he has a retirement. So he works probably 12-hour days, and he should be home enjoying his final years now, and he's not. And the guy is, he definitely should be retired by now, and I'm going to assume the reason he's still working is because he didn't plan for his retirement, which is too bad. Or he must get Social Security and he just can't afford to live on that, because he's definitely old enough for Social Security. And I tell my son, Nick, look at the example, and you've got to plan, because my son's young and he's not thinking about retirement. There are decisions you have to make when you're young, because retirement is going to come up like this. And granted, I didn't think about it when I was 25. I wasn't worried about it. But I'm going to tell you something. At one point, maybe I was around 30, 35 years old, and I used to ride to work. I used to carpool with a lady, and she used to say, "Hey, are you putting money into the retirement plan?" And I said, "No, I can't afford that." Like so many of us say that, right? We can't afford it. How can you not afford it? And she said, they're matching the first 5% that you put in. So if you don't put in something, you're actually losing money. And I said, well, I know, but I don't have any money to put in. And she said, even if you only put in $5 a paycheck, they will give you $5 to match that. And it's interesting, because if someone told you in the street, I'll give you $5, if you take $5 and you put it from one pocket to another, I'll put another $5 in that pocket. Would you do it? Well, of course you would, right? Well, it's the same thing. The only difference is you can't spend it right now. You're putting it away. But the government or your pension or your company, if they're offering you that money, you're going to match it. And not everybody has this, but I did. I'm giving you my example. I said, no, I can't afford it. And she said, you're losing money, because up to 5% they will match. If you put $100 in a paycheck, they will match that. So she talked me into at least trying. So you know what I did? I changed my paycheck and I started taking out $5 a month, $5 a paycheck put into that account. And I realized that I didn't miss it. So I was putting in $5 and my company was putting in $5. So $10 a paycheck, which became $5 a paycheck, which I got paid every 2 weeks, was $10 a month. The company was matching that with another $10, so that was $20 a month going into my retirement, which was $20 a month times 12. That was $240 a year, right? I just forgot about it. Before I knew it, there was $100 in there or something. I looked at it. Wow, that's pretty cool. Because I really didn't have anything saved in my life at the time. So I said, well, I'm not even noticing that. So when I got a chance, I upped it to $10 a paycheck. I said, I won't notice $10 a paycheck, right? So now I was putting $10 a paycheck in, which was $20 a month, and the government was matching that, which became $40 a month. So now I was putting in $240, $480 a month, $480 a year. Well, what I started doing was every time I got a raise, every year we got a cost of living raise, or every time I got a step increase or any kind of a raise, I would take my raise and either put all of it or a portion of it, increase what I was putting into the fund. And within a short amount of time, my contribution in the fund went up to $100, either $100 a paycheck or $100 a month. I can't remember. I think it was $100 a paycheck. And then the company was matching that. So they were putting $100 a paycheck. So then that became $200 a month, $2,400 a month I was putting in. And they were matching that. So they were putting in $2,400, a year. So that was $4,800 a year, almost $5,000 a year going into my retirement fund. Now, so in a few short years, let's say 5 or 6 years, I went from putting nothing into my retirement fund to putting almost $500 a year into my retirement fund. That doesn't count the interest, what the fund was doing at the time, whether it was 5, 10% interest, whatever. What happens is it starts to domino effect. You say you can't afford it, but by starting that, it starts to domino effect, and you see your money start to build, and you want to do more, and you realize you're not missing it, so you start to do more and more, and you get the bug, and you're liking it, you're enjoying it. And I'm going to tell you what, within, it seems like almost no time, I looked at that fund, and I had a substantial amount of money in that fund, a lot of money. I mean, not millions, but a good amount of money in that fund, something I thought I'd never have. So it all started with that $5 contribution. If you don't have a retirement plan that's going to give you a pension at your job, then you got to start putting some money away. And if young, you can do that. If you're older, then you got to start thinking about how you're going to bring in income when you retire. If Social Security is not going to be enough, what are you going to do? Are you going to take another part-time job so you're not going to have to do the 40-hour-a-week grind and get up early in the morning? Maybe you just take a job, at Walmart, a couple hours a day, or, somewhere just doing something with no stress, just to make ends meet. Or what is your situation going to be like? Maybe if you live with relatives, if you have an in-law apartment, and you don't need as much income, you won't have to do as much. But you've got to start thinking about different sources of income when it's time to retire, because it's going to be different for you if you don't have a pension. Definitely something you got to start looking into if you're getting closer to retirement, because it is something that's going to be different than it would be for me. Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about today. So keep planning for your retirement. It's going to come up before you know it. So keep thinking about it. Always think about it. Watch YouTube videos. There's tons of people out there that you can learn from. There's financial planners. There's people who have gone through the retirement and they can tell you the lessons they've learned. There are people who they're just tax professionals. There are people who are getting ready to retire, and you can learn a lot from these people. So keep watching videos on them, and good luck planning, and I hope you're ready when you get there. See you next time.